Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dwayne Brown. New concerns tonight about equipment at the San Onofre nuclear power plant. Engineers have disabled a 30-year-old vibration sensor they say could have incorrectly shut down the plant's backup generators during an earthquake. Those generators control heat in the nuclear reactors. Southern California Edison, the operator, says it's still analyzing the problem. The North County plant has been idle since January because of issues with tubing in its steam generators. Radiation from another nuclear plant is turning up in bluefin tuna caught off San Diego. Researchers say the fish migrated from waters near Japan's Fukushima Daiichi plant. You may recall it was badly damaged by last year's tsunami. The researchers say the fish is still safe to eat. The city of Escondido is the first in the county to allow federal officials to verify every city worker's immigration status. Adrian Florido with our Fronteras desk has been following the story. He joins us from the news center. Adrian, the city of Escondido actually volunteered for this audit. It's being done by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. What's the big idea here?
Well, the audit has been underway for several weeks now, and the city of Escondido's goal is essentially to ensure that it isn't employing anyone who isn't legally authorized to work in the U.S. It's agreed to this audit by Immigration and Customs Enforcement through a relatively new program that ICE has called the IMAGE program, which is essentially a program in which employers like companies or cities allow officials to come in and audit all of their hiring records to ensure that everyone in their employ is legally authorized to be in and working in the U.S.
And many cities and companies already check the work eligibility using E-Verify, that system. How is this program different, Adrian?
Well, E-Verify is something that a lot of companies already do use, and cities too, but it tends to only be used at the hiring stage. So for new hires, for the most part, this IMAGE program is really kind of doing audits of entire companies, in this case of the entire city workforce, to ensure that people who in some cases may have been working there for decades already, that they are also legally authorized to work there.
Adrian Florido with our Fronteras desk. Climate researchers from Southern California are meeting in San Diego this week. The conference is focusing on change in our water supply. Today's keynote speaker talked about possible changes to our supply of drinkable water.
We kind of can plan, and that's a really important thing. And then secondly, for domestic use, this focuses our attention a little bit early enough so that we can start looking at things like a little bit zero-fitted gardening, gray water use, recycling. We will have enough water in this state for our cities.
The climate conference runs through Thursday here in San Diego. A wildfire east of Julian has been fully contained. The Banner fire burned about 5,000 acres. It forced about 100 people from their homes in Shelter Valley late last week. CAL FIRE says it was started by sparks from equipment. A disgraced former San Diego congressman wants permission to carry a firearm when he's released from prison later this year. Randy Duke Cunningham is serving time for tax evasion and conspiracy. As a felon, he can't legally carry a gun, but he asked a judge for an exception for hunting and shooting contests. The judge says it's up to the Secretary of the Treasury. Cunningham says he'll move to Arkansas when he's released. Our election 2012 coverage continues tonight with a look at the race for the newly drawn 52nd Congressional District. It stretches from Imperial Beach in the south up to the coast to La Jolla and northeast to Poway. Joanne Farian is talking with the three major candidates tonight. First up, the incumbent.
Thanks, Congressman Bill Bray, for being here. I want to start with taxes. In 2006, you signed the Grover Norquist anti-tax pledge for the people at home. Basically, it says, I will not raise taxes. Would you sign that today?
I would. I think that the problem is not the way, how high the tax rates are. Even President Obama is saying now is not the time to talk about this. The issue is all the loopholes, things like the ethanol subsidy that Norquist may not like, but I think a lot of us that are reasonable, especially those of us that have worked on environmental issues like myself on clean air, you shouldn't be giving ethanol producers a subsidy to produce a fuel that basically is being mandated and shouldn't be, but is a huge giveaway. And there's lots of those type of things that we ought to be doing rather than talking about raising the tax rates at a time that the economy desperately needs that money. In fact, I'll turn right around and say there's $1.4 trillion of American money overseas that could come back to create American jobs on American soil. But the fact is the federal government was saying we're going to tax it at 35%.
Doesn't a pledge like this, though, doesn't this sort of set up this partisan gridlock by one side saying, okay, we took this pledge, we're not going to raise taxes, and that's how you end up without compromise? No,
look, I worked together with Nancy Pelosi to be able to work at bringing the America's Cup back to California. I'm working with her on saving the cruise ship industry for the Port District. I work across the aisle on a lot of issues down there. We're even working on solar panels together with the Tennessee. But you find those common areas where we say, okay, can we agree that there's a whole lot of tax benefits that are being put out there that should have never gone out there, that are not only bad for the budget, but bad for the economy. Things like taxing imported parts for golf clubs here in San Diego more than if you assemble it and drive the jobs overseas. Those things are the place we can agree with, and we got to start working.
I want to cut in over here because I want to move on to immigration.
Absolutely.
Now, we know that you also introduced legislation. You sponsored a bill that would have taken citizenship away from children born of illegal immigrants in this country. I think it was H.R. 1868. Would you support similar legislation today? Do you still believe that?
Look, the bill never took any citizenship away from anybody. What it did, though, is say that under the Constitution, you must be subject to the jurisdiction, that tourists who have kids here, wealthy tourists that are coming through, they're not subject, they cannot be drafted, cannot be tried for treason. And under the Constitution, they're not subject to the jurisdiction. But I have to say to both sides, we wouldn't even have to talk about this issue of what they call anchor babies if we would both work together at getting to the real source of the immigration problem, and that's illegal employers.
But let's back up, though. Would you today say that children who are born in America but their parents are illegal, should they automatically be citizens as they are now, or would you want a change?
They're just like the children of diplomats. They do not, under the Constitution, have the right of automatic citizenship. In fact, American Indians born on American soil were not given automatic citizenship by the 14th Amendment. And you don't want to have a situation to where you start changing the definition of the Constitution. What you need to do is take it to the Supreme Court and have them rule, do the children of diplomats born on U.S. soil, do they get automatic citizenship? And no, they don't, even though they're legally here, because the Constitution has a conditioning clause subject to the jurisdiction. So
let's spend a little bit of time now moving on to medical marijuana, because I know this is an issue that's important to you, and we know that your daughter is battling melanoma. She's been on this show to talk about medical marijuana helped her. It helped her get through treatment. You don't support medical marijuana in its current state in California, though, do you?
Look, I saw what it did for my daughter at a critical time, and with the way things are going, she may need it again. But I'm a congressman that's sworn to uphold the Constitution. And there is a constitutional responsibility not to just say California can smoke marijuana, but to make the FDA allow people like my daughter to have the medical extracts from marijuana available in medicine form. And it's the federal government that is stopping people like Brianna having an appropriate access to cannabis extracts. And that is why I'm introducing a bill that will force the FDA to allow the medicines that are available in Europe and in Canada to be available to people like
that takes time. That takes time. And right now, federal prosecutors are shutting down these medical marijuana
They are
dispensaries.
here in California. They're not in Colorado.
Well, what do you do? What do you do if you're here in California, like your daughter?
What you do is you put the pressure on your congressman to finally get both sides working together. And I think Brianna actually might have got the Republican chairman of the Health Committee, who's pretty conservative, to recognize that it's the federal government that has created the crisis of medical marijuana and not the states, and the fact that the federal government, the FDA, should be forced to finally do the right thing and allow a true medicine, a extract, available to patients like my daughter.
We're out of time, but I want to send people to kpbs.org. There's a much longer conversation with you and Maureen Cavanaugh, and they can find out more about what you stand for. Thank you so much, Congressman, for being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
First there was cash, then credit cards and debit cards. Now you can pay for things with your smartphone. KPBS science and technology reporter Peggy Pico tells us about LevelUp.
Can I have a slice of pepperoni pizza, please? The Works Pizza and Burger restaurant in Mission Valley offers lots of choices, even at the cash register. You can pay with cash,
$123 is your change,
credit, debit, and now mobile money.
so we're going to be $528.
Okay.
The Works is one of 85 businesses in San Diego that offer LevelUp, a new app that lets you pay with your smartphone.
It's really fast and really convenient to use. I don't even have to bring my wallet or credit cards out with me.
It works like this. First, you download the free app on your phone, register your security information, then scan your credit card of choice. You only need to do this setup once. In less than a minute, you're ready to pay. Seconds later, the receipt shows up on your phone. 23-year-old Seth Prebatch is the creator and CEO of LevelUp, a Boston-based company. He tells us via Skype his app saves consumers and businesses money.
So really what's going on is when you pay with LevelUp and pay with your phone, the business is saving a bunch of money, and they're using those savings to reward you as the customer.
Bill Olsker, owner of the Works, says it saves him money because unlike credit card companies that charge the merchant a swipe fee plus up to 5% of each sale, LevelUp charges a 2% flat rate fee per sale and no swipe fee.
It doesn't cost me anything to use the system as opposed to a regular credit card transaction. So it's a non-cost for me to use it.
But it's customer satisfaction he values most.
It's beneficial to me because it builds loyalty with my customers, so I get a repeat business from them.
LevelUp also offers discounts and cash rewards that attract customers like Dan Simpson.
And you're done.
It was $5 towards my meal. I only paid $3 and some change for my lunch, so that worked out.
This electronic wallet is catching on. A recent Pew survey found 65% of internet users will use smart device swiping instead of cash or credit cards by 2020. But is it secure?
With LevelUp, by default, you're just linking, your credit card. So you start with all the protections of your credit card, and then we layer a bunch of security on top of that. So you can pin lock your LevelUp app. So if someone happens to get your phone, they'd need your special pin to be able to access it, where, you can't pin lock your leather wallet.
The evolution of money is nothing new. Evidence of an organized barter system dates back to 9000 BC. China used metal coins in 1000 BC. Paper money shows up in 800 AD. The first U.S. check cashed in 1681. U.S. credit cards in the 1920s. Now, mobile money makes its debut. Starbucks has the most mobile pay locations in the country, but you can only use their app at Starbucks. 140,000 merchants nationwide use Google Wallet, but its app requires exclusive use of Citibank's MasterCard or Google's prepaid card.
Wow.
Look at that.
While LevelUp has been around for just 4 months, it has 2,500 merchants nationwide. LevelUp does not partner with banks because Prebatch says his ultimate goal is to improve the nation's economy by eliminating processing fees altogether.
So credit card payment processing fees in 2011 were $50 billion. And that's $50 billion out of businesses and out of consumers' pockets that kind of just goes to waste.
But financial institutions aren't likely to let go of those kinds of profits.
They may seek other sources of revenue, higher fees or other charges elsewhere in the business to make up for any revenue that they lose from the transactions fees.
Meanwhile, the market for mobile payments is projected to nearly triple in value from $240 billion this year to $670 billion globally by 2015. If e-money still seems a bit futuristic for you, just remember.
It took a little while for ATMs to catch on when they first came out, and now it's hard to imagine life without them.
We continue our look at the race for the 52nd Congressional District tonight. Joanne is with one of the challengers at the roundtable.
Commissioner Peters, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Congressman Bilbray was just here, and I asked him about the Grover Norquist anti-tax pledge, which he signed and says he would sign it again. And, of course, this says, I will not raise taxes.
Right.
If you're elected, would you raise taxes?
I think all Americans favor a balanced approach to balancing the budget. And, I think Congressman Bilbray will tell you we have to balance the budget. And I think most people understand you do it through a combination of revenue and cuts. And I think that I would certainly not ever sign a pledge to someone who doesn't live in San Diego, who's not a San Diego voter, that I would sell my vote away for political gain. So I think that's absolutely the wrong position to take.
So when you talk about balance and revenue, is this income taxes, capital gains taxes? Are those the sorts of things you think that the Congress should be looking at?
Well, I think we know that the tax rate on the wealthiest Americans has never been lower. Has never been lower, and just as a matter of fairness, folks who are doing well can do more. And I think that's going to be a really important part of getting the economy moving again. Look, we have a Congress that's arguing about the debt ceiling and whether to pay America's bills. We need to be talking about America's priority, about making the investments in the next generation that will make us competitive, about investing in education, infrastructure, scientific research, and balancing the budget, but not balancing it on the backs of our seniors and the middle class who've worked hard for the protections that they've earned and that they deserve.
I want to talk a little bit about illegal immigration, because particularly in San Diego County, there is a story, this is a story that plays itself out daily. If you're elected, what do you think the single most important law or legislation do you think Congress should work at toward looking at this issue of illegal immigration?
Well, it does have a huge effect on San Diego, and I think there are a few things. One is, let's take off the table. Everyone agrees that we don't want crime across the border. So we want a secure border so we're not seeing people shipping guns or people or drugs across the border. I think everyone agrees on that. Then the question is, how do you deal with the fact that a lot of commerce comes across the border and it is of tremendous significance economically to both sides? One thing that I was just talking to someone about this morning is that the Mexicans have made a tremendous investment in border infrastructure to get legal trade across the border, and we're not doing our part. So we see these literally hours and hours of border delay that take money off the table for both Mexico and the United States.
What about the people? What about the people, 11 million undocumented immigrants? We have this debate constantly. Should we have a guest worker program? Should we have a path to citizenship? What should we do? What should we do to the children here whose parents are illegal immigrants? I mean, is there something specifically that addresses one of these questions that you feel committed strongly to?
Well, I support a practical approach. You can't plan to, I mean, this is what Brian's idea is, that we could deport 11 million people and otherwise it's called amnesty. And that's just not a constructive approach. One thing I do support is the DREAM Act, the idea that a kid who comes here as a child would be able to get an education or go to the military and earn their right to residency. I think that's a fair and practical kind of approach, just for an example.
Do you support legalizing medical marijuana across the U.S.?
I support letting states decide that. So in California, if California's decided that that's what they want to do, and it's a matter of allocating their law enforcement resources too. If they've decided that's what they want to do, the federal government should not get in the way of that.
But here's the problem. Right now in California, where it's legal, federal government is stepping in and saying, but it's not legal across the country. We've had the city attorney in, the city attorney who's largely responsible for closing some of these shops down, saying until the federal government makes it legal, you know, that we can't do anything about it. Federal government may have to step in.
Well, as I said, as a federal matter, I think we ought to let the states, if the states decide they want to legalize it and bear the costs and the risks associated with that, I think we ought to give them that opportunity.
But how can they do, that's playing itself out right now, unless the federal, President Obama said he wasn't going to stand in their way. But we have federal prosecutors who absolutely are going after medical marijuana dispensaries in San Diego. So if elected, do you say, look, maybe the federal government ought to take this on so you don't end up with the situation that's playing itself out in California?
And that's what I mean, Joanne. I mean, I think that the federal government ought to take the actions that's necessary to let the states decide that. And I think California is different from Wyoming. And if, in other words, we would make the changes in the law at the federal level that would allow California to let medical marijuana be a policy, if they choose to do it.
We have very little time left, but I want to give you a chance to tell me, or tell the audience, you are running against another Democrat. How do you distinguish yourself from another Democrat in this race when presumably your policies are similar? And we have about 20 seconds left.
Okay, well, I got running on a record of getting things done, and that's my record. One thing I'd say is that the folks who worked with my opponent as an assembly member in Sacramento, every Democrat who worked in the legislature at that time has endorsed me. And I've gotten the endorsements of firefighters, teachers, the city beat, and the UT, because they know that I have a record of getting things done. That's what I offer.
Commissioner Peters, thanks for being here. I want to send people to kpbs.org because I know there's a much longer conversation on midday. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Joanne.
Today was the deadline to ask for a mail-in ballot for next Tuesday's election. If you can't make it to the polls on June 5th, you can vote on Saturday at the registrar's office on Ruffin Road. We now wrap up our look at the 52nd Congressional District race with Joanne at the roundtable.
Lori Saldana, thanks for being here. I've started these interviews talking about taxes. If you're elected, would you support raising taxes? And I'm going to throw a few of them out there. Income taxes, capital gains taxes, perhaps other taxes.
I think that working people that pay the majority of the income taxes are taxed pretty heavily if you look at the proportionality of it. I think the corporate gains taxes, or capital gains taxes rather, and corporate taxes have fallen off, and I think that we need to reconsider some of those. But we really do need a different approach to this, something that's not regressive, something that's hurting working class people where the majority of their income in places, especially like San Diego, already go to basic things like shelter, transportation, food. So we really need to revamp our tax system in some major ways.
I've also been asking a lot about illegal immigration. This is something that's really important to San Diego County. We hear stories every single day. If Congress passes only one piece of legislation with regard to illegal immigration, if you're elected, what should it focus on?
I think it needs to focus on fairness in the application process. So many people get fed up. They pay a lot of money. The fees have gone up and up and up over the last 10 years, and the process is slow and inefficient. I think we need to make the process efficient. We've seen a reverse. We've actually seen more people leaving the United States, returning to their home countries because the economy has, in some cases, improved more in Mexico and elsewhere, faster than it has here in the United States. So it's a time for us to catch our breath and look at these immigration policies and improve on them. And so I would say let's make them more efficient, more fair, and this is a rare opportunity to do that.
Specifically, though, we have 11 million undocumented
I think that
immigrants.
Number has probably declined, but that's an old number.
We can safely say millions.
We have millions of people
here.
We have millions
of people here. Should we be looking at a path to citizenship? Should we be looking at other options?
There are many who are born, if they weren't born here, their children were. And so you have families where you have a mix of citizens and non-citizens. We have children who were brought here as infants or young children, and we're looking at paths to citizenship for them. They came here at no fault of their own. So there's a mix of families. I think to protect those family relationships and be fair and be compassionate about this is really an important part of changing some of these laws.
I think some people might say that's amnesty.
Ronald Reagan approved an amnesty bill in 1986. I didn't open the floodgates the way people feared. I think what's hurt it more has been, or certainly influenced it more, have been things like NAFTA, the free trade agreement, which was an attempt to build a stronger alliance across the border, not only to the north but to the south. So I think as a nation, we're a nation of immigrants. We have a history of making laws that at one point may have been contentious, but in the long run, I think they work for the betterment of everything that we stand for as a nation of laws and immigrants.
I know you were asked this question at the congressional debate with regard to medical marijuana. Do you support the federal government legalizing medical marijuana?
Well, I don't think we're going to get there soon. I think they need to respect the states that have, especially in a ballot measure, have approved that, have created a legal approach to medical marijuana, and that's the biggest concern I have now is the millions of dollars coming into San Diego to enforce closing medical marijuana pharmacies or dispensaries. I think it's a bad use of federal dollars at a time of a budget deficit, and I think that the federal government needs to respect those states and communities that have passed local laws on medical marijuana.
It's interesting because I probably spent a lot of time with Scott Peters discussing this very issue, and he had a very similar answer in terms of the federal government respecting states who have passed this. Right now that doesn't happen, and we've had a number of guests come on the show and say, look, you know, we can shut them down because the federal law says it's illegal. So do you need to actually change a federal law?
I authored a bill to change the state law and say that local law enforcement cannot cooperate with the federal DEA and the federal Department of Justice to prosecute people, because here's what happens. We pay the price in California. People who are prosecuted, people who go to prison, we lose them as contributing taxpayers to our tax base. We pay for their incarceration. And right now the incarceration rates in California are really bankrupting our state. As a nation, we are really incarcerating too many people on drug, alcohol abuse issues, which often are tied to mental health issues. And so I think that I authored a bill. It did not get signed by the governor, but I've certainly taken strong action in that regard, and I think I would continue to do so at the national level.
We haven't got a lot of time left, but in this new form of primary, we've got the top two. We could actually see two Democrats running against each other in the runoff. If that's the case, how do you make yourself different than your fellow Democrat when your policies might be very similar?
Well, I have a proud record of accomplishments at the legislative level. I'm running on my record as an elected official. My Democratic opponent is running away from his record as an elected official. He left the city of San Diego in economic disarray. That's why I have the endorsement of Donna Fry, of Marty Emerald, of Tony Young on the city council. I have the endorsement of Karen Bass, the woman who became the first African-American woman speaker in the nation's history. She's now in Congress. She supports me. I'm a proud progressive. I want to work on universal single-payer health care. Those distinguish me from a much more moderate Democrat in the race.
We're going to have to end it there, but I do want to send people to our website, kpbs.org, because I know there's a longer conversation with you and Maureen Kavanaugh there, and also a lot more information. Thank you, Lori Saldana, for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Another production is going from the La Jolla Playhouse to Broadway.
And I'm gone, so far away, gone.
Hands on a Hard Body is a musical about a truck giveaway contest. The winner is the one who keeps a hand on the truck the longest. It's based on a documentary film with the same title. It's expected to premiere on Broadway in New York next season. You can find tonight's stories online at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.